my entire career, arresting corrupt politicians, investigating government fraud. These are all the things that I saw firsthand with my own eyes and that I investigated and pursued throughout my career. With regard to taxes, as I mentioned earlier, I started my career as a CPA. I think we could use more CPAs in Congress, people that know how to count, people that know how to balance budgets, people that know how to end deficits. And I can tell you that most CPAs would agree that our Internal Revenue Code is a convoluted mess. Tax professionals can't understand the Internal Revenue Code, which is why you have a system today where the wealthy and the people that can afford expensive tax attorneys are the only ones that can game the Internal Revenue Code. It is completely incomprehensible. It's loaded with special interest loopholes. It needs to end. And then we get to corporate taxes. We have, in America, the highest corporate tax rate in the free world. A 35% corporate statutory tax rate in the United States. Our neighbors to the north in Canada, 15%. Ireland, 12.5%. Russia, 20% corporate tax rate. We have a 35% corporate tax rate in this country, and we wonder why we're hemorrhaging jobs in this country. Just a few weeks ago, Ford Motor Company announced that they were relocating all their small car manufacturing from Michigan to Mexico. If that's not evidence that our economic system in this country, whether it be taxes, whether it be regulations, is broken, I don't know what is. And throw our unfair trade deals in the mix as well. Taxes are a very important component. We need to get our economy moving again. We have to make America a fair place and incentivize people to do business here in this country, because we are going to continue hemorrhaging jobs. If we continue to hemorrhage jobs, our underemployment is going to continue to rise, which means we're going to have less people paying into the system, which means we're going to have lower revenues, which means we won't be able to fund the very important programs that we need to fund in this country, including national security, at a point in time when we are living in a more dangerous world now than we ever have.
Thank you. 1 minute follow-up? Yes, thank you.
You know, we do need to cut red tape, especially when it deals with small business, because small business is the biggest driver of job growth in this country. And it is absolutely true that real wages for the bottom 90% of people in this country have dropped enormously over the last 45 years. We need to turn that around, and we need to create an environment in which we have more job growth, and that requires investment. Investment in infrastructure, investment in education, and investment in job training. If we do those things, we can grow our economy even greater, which will bring more revenue in and help us to make the system more fair for America's working families. And as someone who's actually brought jobs into this district and has fought to protect the jobs of thousands of families in our district, I can tell you from day one, that's exactly what I will do as your Congress.
Thank you. Follow. I'm sorry, did you say? No. Our second question. It's an increasingly dangerous world we live in, with so many foreign policy challenges that one barely knows where to begin. Just yesterday, the United States Navy launched Tomahawk missiles against rebel installations in Yemen, who had fired on our naval ships. The nuclear weapons in the hands of a leader such as Kim Jong-un of North Korea is certainly worthy of our attention. I raised this North Korean issue with both of you 6 weeks ago in our radio debate. Since then, North Korea has tested more delivery systems. How proactive, if at all, should the United States be in preempting this threat? Mr. Fitzpatrick.
We need to be proactive for sure. And we need to be proactive by working with our partners, our international partners, in delivering very, very heavy economic sanctions. They have to be delivered, and they have to be delivered soon. Mr. Pezza raised North Korea in our last debate. Shortly thereafter, they conducted a nuclear test in North Korea. Kim Jong-un, who's in possession of nuclear weapons, a madman in possession of nuclear weapons, who conducted a nuclear test that caused a 5.5 megaton earthquake in North Korea. A test that caused a 5.5 megaton earthquake. By comparison, Hiroshima caused a 6 megaton earthquake. We have serious foreign policy and national security threats that are emanating all over the world right now. North Korea was the example provided by Mr. Pezza. Iran, a unbelievably dangerous nuclear agreement that doesn't block the path to a nuclear weapon, it paves the path to a nuclear weapon. what even the Obama administration acknowledges as the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. We handed them $150 billion in assets, previously frozen assets. Because of the lifting of sanctions, their economy will grow at a clip of 10 to 12% per year. And then we have pallets of cash being delivered under the cover of darkness in foreign currency in unmarked airplanes to the largest state sponsor of terrorism. You have Russia annexing Crimea with impunity. He continues his invasion in eastern Ukraine to the Donetsk region. You have China literally manufacturing islands in the South China Sea, the most important trade route in the world. We live in a very dangerous world, which is why I think it's critically important, more than ever at this point in our country's history, that we send people to Congress that have been behind the curtain, that understand the threats, know where the threats are coming from, how they're financed, and how to cut that financing off. That is particularly true in the area of counterterrorism, where you have ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, Al-Nusra, Ansar al-Sharia, Hezbollah, Hamas, all expanding their reach throughout the Middle East, into the Horn of Africa. They've attacked in Copenhagen, they've attacked in Paris, they've attacked in Munich.
Time's expired.
They've attacked in Brussels.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, the actions of Kim Jong-un and his rogue regime in North Korea are a serious threat to our national security and global security, no question about that. As is the fact that the Iranians, have been working toward a nuclear weapons program. I actually was publicly against the Iran deal, not because I thought it was a bad idea to negotiate with the Iranians, but because I thought the ultimate deal did not go far enough. But the fundamental point is this. We, as Americans, need to be engaged in the international community. We need to have certain goals that we are going to pursue. One of the most important, of course, is non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. And it's amazing to me that the Republican nominee for president has actually said that he's for proliferation, to let more countries have access to nukes. He didn't even know that the Russians had taken Crimea. And he said, such flattering things about Vladimir Putin, it makes you wonder ultimately what American policy would be were he to become president. I raised that because, the fact is that up until, I guess, about 6 days ago, my opponent was voting for Donald Trump and thought at that point that it was okay to give him the nuclear codes. I think that's an important issue in this campaign because at the end of the day, it goes to an issue of judgment. I don't think the revelations of last Friday were necessary for us to understand that Donald Trump is uniquely unfit to have that responsibility. And I hope voters will understand that on November 8th.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
I would. Steve, just to clarify your position on Iran, and I'm accurately stating it, and you actually said it on this podium at the primary, when you were in your primary debate. You opposed it originally, but you support its implementation. That's exactly what you said on the stage on tape back in the primary. I think that is incredibly dangerous. Incredibly dangerous for all the reasons I just mentioned. To give the extent of those assets to the largest state sponsor of terrorism this world has ever known. And it continues to flow, and we continue to learn more and more about it every day to the point where it's now literally being considered a ransom payment. And that makes every one of us less safe because every single American that travels abroad now that we've ended that long policy that we don't pay ransom for terrorists, because we've now broken that policy, because of the Iran deal, every single one of us that travels overseas now has a price tag on our head. Because ISIS, Boko Haram, they are everywhere, folks. They're throughout Eastern Europe, they're throughout Western Europe, and they now know how to raise money.
I think what's dangerous is supporting a man up until just last Saturday who is on record saying that he's fine with and actually would encourage the proliferation of nuclear weapons. I think what's dangerous is supporting someone who's going to create a religious test for coming into this country, thereby making our ability as Americans to fight terrorism and fight terrorism with our Arab and Muslim allies that much harder. I think what's dangerous, frankly, is supporting somebody who has absolutely no